of transfer rumors knocking around, and we've already had 2 or 3 people in the comments, at least one lunatic and 1 or 2 other people coming in going, hey, what's all this about Verts? Listen, Jack does the headlines based on what's in the news at the moment. And it changes. That's what news is. It changes. So yes, the Florian Wirtz story was big earlier on, yeah. And apparently he spoke to Liverpool with his family and representatives, and the whole story was something and nothing, because clearly Bayern want him. And if Bayern wants you and you're in Germany, seems to be the way that, you know, we can predict how that's going to go. So taking that out of it, the other story that's kind of inescapable is Jeremy Frimpong. And it turns out that an awful lot of those stories were based on things being said and put out there by a fella who's not actually Jeremy Frimpong's agent. He is connected to him, but not his actual agent. So this is, like I said, silly season. Let's take the names out of it for a second and have some sort of slightly calm conversation about if Arsenal need a bit of surgery, if City need a bit of surgery. Well, Liverpool, we know, are going to need it because we know we have outgoings. And it's also, I would have thought, very logical to give this lad a chance to use a sort of military thing, if he's a general, to build his own army, to build his own, to use his own weapons and, you know, create an Arne Slot team to an extent. It may take a few seasons, but to allow him to begin that process, because he's won the league with somebody else's team, and the only new person that came in was never played at all, never used. So it feels like there's a lot of work to be done there. Now, we've kicked around where it needs to be done, but it's obvious, really, it's going to have to be in attack, where one of our big name strikers, if not a couple, will be on the move. And we're going to have at least 1 or 2 defenders walking as well. And we're going to need other bits and bobs. Some people say we need a 6. I'm one of those, as in a defensive midfielder, a proper defensive midfielder. When you look at the Liverpool team squad, really, at the moment, where do you see the work that needs doing to take us to the next level? And who do you think are the likely candidates for the exit?
I've just got this idea, Trevor, that if Liverpool only made 1 signing in the summer, it would be a right back. I just can't see Liverpool starting the next Premier League season without a right back. And I'm not suggesting that it's a first choice right back or a second choice right back, but I just can't see Liverpool going into the next season with Conor Bradley and Joe Gomez as the 2 options as right backs. So, you know, I think it's a priority that we sign somebody. I do find the Jeremy Frimpong link a little strange, because to me it looks like a marauding fullback that struggles to defend and won't win you many headers, but got unbelievable pace. And then people go, yeah, but he can also play further forward in Mo's role. Yeah, he can, but as long as Mo is there, nobody plays in that role really, because he's available every single game. So I don't know how much sense that makes. Centre half is the interesting one. I've often said, well, we've often said, both of us, that how Arne Slot rates the players has been pretty easy to read. The one I can't quite get a read on is Kwanzaa. You know, there's this link with other clubs being interested, Newcastle being one of them, and us maybe not being prepared to sell, which makes me think that Arne is thinking there's a future in him. So we might not be desperate for the centre half because Joe Gomez. And again, I don't know about Joe, whether Joe will stay or go or not. And then we've got the left back situation. At the moment, we got 2, which means we won't bring anyone in, but I think we're hoping to shift one of them to bring somebody in. And we've obviously been strongly linked with the boy down at Bournemouth. And I said last week on the show, yeah, I think this is happening. And then I was told at Anfield on Sunday, and I don't know whether it's the right figure or not, but somebody went 45 million for a left back. And that made me think again, you know, when have we ever spent that type of money on defenders? You know, people go, yeah, Van Dijk and Konate and whatever. Yeah. Well, Konate was cheaper, wasn't it? Van Dijk, but that was exceptional, wasn't it? So that made me just think, you know, because it just looked like an open goal, didn't it? To go and get the boy at Bournemouth, and then somebody very, very connected went, what, 45 million for the left back again. So that made me think a little bit. Midfield, I'm not overly concerned. I want a midfield player. but I'm not bothered whether it's 6 or 8. I can live with either, but I do think we need somebody, whoever that is. I mean, we spoke briefly last week about the boy at Stuttgart and a few others, isn't there? And up front is the interesting. Up front will take shape once we know who we might be able to move on, isn't it?
Who we might be able to move on is the thing, and I think those stories are going to become very clear very soon, so just hold your horses, folks. I just have to ask you about one thing before we finish up, and we'll just, like I said, we'll keep the Brighton talk to an actual prediction just for the crack, because it's what we do. But I heard you may have been involved in some competitive sport yourself of late, Chief, and this might be a string to your bow that people are not aware of. I happen to know you're quite handy at this particular game because we've spoken about it before, you and I. But would you care to tell people about your time on the Oki recently?
Yeah, it was an event at Anfield. It was the LFC Foundation, a charity event sponsored by one of the biggest bookmakers in the world, and there was 8 players, a couple of former world champion Stephen Bunting, who currently is number 4 in the world, and the 2008 BDO world champion Mark Webster. And then there's a couple of county players. County players at darts are, they are just a level below, unbelievable. And then there was a few sort of celebrity. Darren Duff, the cricketer from Yorkshire, Chris Kirkland, former Liverpool, and Keogh, singer, DJ for Boss Nights, and then there was me. It was a great night, fantastic setup, Trevor, unbelievable. And obviously with all the songs and professional callers and the boys. I was lucky in the draw. I got to play the singer struck DJ Keogh, and I beat him 2-0. Before in the semi-final, I got beat 2-0 by Mark Webster. The retired
fair enough.
So, yeah, it was fair enough, isn't it? Fair enough, isn't it? So, but it was a really enjoyable evening. And the big thing for these nights, I think, is that Stephen Bunting, who's a big Liverpool fan, and you couldn't believe he was playing darts at Anfield, but he was the one after he went, this is a really good event. Now, he's used to going around doing a lot of events, maybe, and this is a really good event, he said. And this, he said, we should make this annually,
Wow.
That way he'd be able to help with some of the other big names in the sport. See, the thing is, Trevor, that Anfield is always a big pull, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, come and play darts at Anfield. It's a big pull wherever you are, isn't it? So I think it'll be an annual event. It was really, really good fun. I don't know how it works with people are among the best in the world playing against people who really can't play darts. But I think people enjoyed it to a certain extent. We all had our walk-on with our walk-on music, and I walked on to "Don't Stop Me Now" by the Queen, and it was good fun. It was really enjoyable.
I insist on seeing that live the next time.
Yeah.
And just to change the tone a little bit more serious towards the end, just the last question. I'll be killed by Eddie Gibbo if I don't ask you this. Most people have seen that you were part of a panel pitch side there recently with David James and Peter Schmeichel. And there was a video going around and an awful lot of people were just absolutely shaking their heads going, what is this lad talking about? Where David James is talking to the presenter and Schmeichel kind of cuts across and points at his lapel and says, what's this? And he's pointing at a little badge. And now I'll have to say, I thought David James cut him pretty dead and he looked quite miffed. He looked quite disgusted that this lad, who's his fellow pro, didn't know what it was all about. He didn't give him any great explanation. He just said Hillsborough, 97, turned away. I noticed your own reaction was to kind of look down, like, don't want to get involved in this guy. Was it a situation where he just basically made a show of himself by accident? He really didn't know what he was talking about? Because that's what we all want to believe.
Yeah, I think so, Trevor. I didn't sense somebody who was being disrespectful. I sensed somebody who looked and maybe at an angle because we were all standing in a line, and he's seen something on David James's lapel and he's gone, excuse me. And he has a tendency to do this, Peter, you know what I mean? When other people are talking, he has a tendency to put in and go, and he's gone, what is that? And obviously the moment he said that, I was standing at the end. And And I just thought, no, I'm just going to keep my head down here. There's nowhere to go with this.
No, there's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go with it. Is and obviously, if you have any affiliation with certainly with Liverpool Football Club, you would find it strange that he wouldn't know. The only guy who can explain it is himself. Is himself. But the big thing for me, Trevor, was that he didn't look like it was somebody being disrespectful. He was being inquisitive about something he wasn't sure about. And this is the thing, isn't it, Trevor, that when you sort of step out of your position during these things, isn't it, you can often end up looking a bit silly, because he could have just carried on. We were just about to have an advert break, and it would have been so much easier, wouldn't it? But Peter is cut from a different cloth.
Yes. I think we may have mentioned that before. Right, sign off, buddy. I've kept you a couple of minutes over the time. The game at the weekend, with all our drunk lads and Arne still in Ibiza mode, how do you reckon it goes against Brighton?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I think Brighton have regressed this season. I think early on in the season we thought they'd managed to pick another really, really top manager. I don't think they have. I think apart from a 4-match winning streak early in the season, their level really have been 15, 16. That's how average they've been. I'm not a big fan. I think they've got a lot of good players, but they're not getting the most from the players. So I think even with the Dubai celebrations and if Arne Slot can find his way back to Liverpool, I think we'll be okay. I actually think it might just be one of those end the season games, that ends Brighton 2, Liverpool 3.
Oh, that would be just tremendous fun. That's what we'd all love. Get yourself out of the clutches of Wayne Lineker, Arne, and get yourself back home. Thanks to Jan, a fantastic show, a lot squeezed in there. Even kept him on late after he started early. Appreciate his time. Thanks to you in the chat. Thanks to you for watching live. Big numbers as always. And last week's numbers were fantastic on the watch through. So thousands of you out there. Appreciate you. Take care.